If you don't believe in you, no one else will. Welcome to the Fire Inside podcast. I know there's a fire in your heart. I know there's ambition in your soul. I know you know what you want to do. I know you probably know what you need to do to get there, but there's some changes you need to make in order to get there. And that's what we're going to explore on this podcast, how to do that with ease, how to be more productive, how to also live a life that inspires you, empowers you, and makes you just want to live that life, right? And go full out. I'm going to be talking about how to level up in all different aspects of your life. If you don't know me, hi, hello, what's up? Welcome to this podcast. If you've watched my videos before, you're probably like, what, girl, you weren't doing no podcast before? Because I wasn't. But I decided in this year, which if you're watching in real time, this is the start of January 2025, when the new year ambition is hitting. I'm excited because I'm dedicated to 52 episodes this year. And when you say 52 episodes in a year, it doesn't sound that bad. So I'm like, okay, I got this. We can do this. So I decided I wanted to make this channel a podcast channel just because I want it to be conversational. I want you to come onto this podcast and I want you to feel like you're getting advice from your homegirl who's going to tell you the truth in the most nicest way, but also in a potent way that makes you want to make a change. Because without that, you're probably not going to make a change, right? So like I said, I'm Sade Kelly. I am a wife, a mom, a New York City girl through and through, even though I now reside in Atlanta, Georgia. Listen, I have my reasons. Maybe we'll get into that in an episode. And I'm also a time management coach, and I've been a time management coach full-time for 4 years. I think going on 5 years next year. Yeah, actually this year will be my 5th year, but I've been doing this full time and I work with ambitious women. I typically help them learn how to manage their time so they can balance their work, their wellness, and relationships peacefully. I'm all about helping my clients reach their goals faster. Typically, I can help my clients reach their goals 6 times faster, and I also help them save 28 hours or more per week, which is an amazing amount of time to get back. I help them to align their lives with what they actually want to be doing. So I'm excited to be doing that in a content form on YouTube, as well as I'm sure I will be figuring out how to put this on all streaming platforms. And I wanted to just get started, right? Because there's something about just getting something done that's better than trying to perfect it. Because if I sat here and try to perfect it, I probably wouldn't get it done this year at all, right? So I'm going to practice what I preach on this podcast. So I'm excited to have you here. Today, I really wanted to share a little bit more about my story. I wanted to share some tips on how you can ignite that fire inside of you. Now, I know in the beginning of the year, typically people are feeling fired up anyway. You're automatically like, it's a new year, it's going to be different, new year, better me, new me. I'm about to do all the things I said I didn't do last year, yada, yada, right? But the fact is that 80% of people by February 1st, 80% of people give up on their New Year's resolutions. And there's a lot of reasons why. It's typically because they don't set clear goals. It's because they don't have a roadmap to get to their goals. They don't know how to develop good habits. They don't even know how to motivate themselves, right? They don't know how to ignite that fire inside. So I want to tackle each of these topics. And of course, I have so many resources on my website, thefireinsideshade.com, workshops and coaching programs and things of that nature that help with these things specifically. But I also wanted to do it for a wider audience here on, YouTube and other podcasting platforms. In this episode, I want to talk about how to ignite the fire inside of you. And I felt like I could not talk about that without first sharing my story to igniting the fire inside of me, because I wasn't always like this. Now, there are parts of me that's always been entrepreneurial. I was an entrepreneur since I was 10 years old, y'all. If you know me from elementary school, give me a shout out in the comments, because y'all remember Sade Snacks. I used to sell fruit snacks and sandwiches and things of that nature to the kids in my middle school, elementary school, and the high school across the street. Like, I was doing it all at 10 years old. It was wild. I want to say it was like in me, but I also feel like I got a lot of my entrepreneurial spirit from my father and other people in my family, even though there was not very, just few entrepreneurs, but I feel like I had that spirit. But I didn't think I would be an entrepreneur out the gate. For some reason, I thought it would take me like 10 years of corporate experience before I could ever do it. And I think I had like 5 or 6 years of corporate experience, and then I quit, and I've been an entrepreneur ever since. But I want to take it back to the most broken year of my life, which if you know me, you probably remember this year, but you might not know that it's the most broken year of my life. But I want to take it back because I think it'll help put a context to how I even started igniting the fire inside myself. So in 2015, which is 10 years ago, so crazy, I graduated college, but also it was just a year where I was emotionally just in shambles, right? And honestly, I was uninterested in my life and moving forward, and I just really didn't, it's not that I didn't see a future, but it was like, I wasn't excited about the future. So if you've been there, you know how hard this time is. So just to paint the picture, it was rough for me because I was dealing with the loss of my aunt. A couple years prior to that, I had lost my uncle, and both of them I was super, super close to. They were basically like second parents to me. They took me on trips all the time. I was always hanging out with them. Like they taught and shaped me in so many ways. Like the college I went to, a lot of the schoolwork I did, why I was so ambitious and why I was into school was all because of my aunt. So she was like a really big, like influential person in my life, and I had lost her a couple months before 2015 even started, so the end of 2014. And then my college best friend and I completely stopped talking. Now in that situation I was in the wrong, but she did not forgive me like I thought she might have, and she decided she didn't want to live with me, so she had moved out. I had to find a new roommate senior year, which is like crazy to think about. And I lost one of my best friends, which put a big hole in like my friendship circle 4 years into college. Like I was about to leave, you know? So that was really difficult. And then my college boyfriend and I was going through the most challenges, and we ended up actually breaking up. So can you imagine, like, romantic relationship is crappy. I don't want to curse. And then you and your closest friend in school stop talking, and then also you're dealing with grief and you don't really know what you're doing with that. So I was going through all of that, and then add on that I was now about to enter the workforce. And luckily, I knew that's where I could thrive, though. If anything, I knew I could thrive in that aspect. I knew that I was studying marketing communications, and I knew that I was going to get a job in marketing communications, and I did. I got a job in advertising. But I also was so confused on like how to adult. Like I had no aspect of like, how do I become an adult? Like, how do I manage bills? And like, how do I do well in a corporate environment? I had worked all these years in school, and I had businesses on the side. I've worked jobs in and out, but like, not a corporate career. So I had a lot going on, as you can tell. And it was really, really hard. After I got out of school, I felt like, okay, I got this job, but what is my purpose? I went to go live back home. I was living with my grandmother. I had been living with my grandmother since I was 12 years old. So like a little backstory, I lived with my mom and my dad up until about 5, and then my dad left at 5, and we ended up like reconnecting later in life. I lived with my mom from like 5 to 12, and then at 12 I went to go live with my grandparents. So already I feel like my life kind of pushed me to be ambitious, because I knew the only way out of like this kind of up and down family relationships and environment that I had was through me, through my success, and through me creating the life of my dreams. Because in my head I always wanted like the Cosby family like life, and or like family unit, and I knew I could craft that for myself. I knew I could have a successful career. I knew I could probably own my own business one day if I just figured out how to like ignite something in me. But also I knew that corporate wasn't going to be it for me. Like I just knew it. I knew that. So during this time in 2015, I remember going into Barnes and Noble and picking up this book. It was called You Are a Badass. It was something along the lines of like how to let self-doubt go and become more self-confident. And that book changed my life. Like it's by Jen Sincero, and she has had so many other books after that, and I've read almost all of them. But that book changed my life because it really empowered me. It showed me that personal development doesn't have to be boring. That you can really learn how to align your life the way you want. You can become more confident. You can do whatever the heck you want. Like you can push past those beliefs that you have that you didn't even know you had. So all of this to say that after I started reading the self-development books, I started getting into TED Talks. I started to make new friends. I started to a blog, which was originally what the Fire Inside was a personal development blog. I started talking on social media and like about all the different things that I was going through and connecting with other people. And all of that kind of led me to open my eyes to this whole new world. And then fast forward to now, I built a successful coaching business. I'm married. Like I've had my first child recently. I'm truly living life like how I've always wanted. Time freedom, getting to a place where I'm going to be completely financially free. Like it is just really wild to me that I've been able to go from like that broken girl in 2015, rebuild myself. And I want to stress that it's been a 10-year journey, because I don't want you to think like you're going to take these tips and the next day is going to be amazing. But you take these tips, you start shifting. And honestly, what I'm showing you and what I'm teaching on this channel and like what I teach in my programs probably will excel you way faster than my journey was. But it really taught me so much, because through all that turmoil, it connected me to the right people. Like everything started to align when I started getting a lot of rejections, when I started going through really tough things, and when things weren't aligning as well as I thought they would. And maybe another video I'll share more in depth of like how I left my corporate journey. Let me know down in the comments if you want that. And also subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the channel. Make sure you're subscribed because I want you to, come back and watch and learn more. But I wanted to share that story to kind of show you that I went from that overwhelmed, stressed, like confused girl to being very clear on what I want, confident, and really taking the world by storm. Like, I don't know how else to put it. I know that sounds corny, but I really feel like I took the world by storm. So I want to leave you with some tips on how you can start to ignite your fire inside. So if I want this to come from a place of like your homegirl who's giving you advice, and I'm going to give you like honest advice that may sting a little bit, but it's always going to help you, right? Because sometimes I think things need to sting. I'm not going to be mean, but it's funny because one of my friends does be calling me mean, but it's like, I think she just takes my candor for meanness. But I really just want to be honest, and I want you to feel like, okay, this is tangible advice that I can do something with. And I'm going to give you an activity to do at the end. Like, I want this to be an actionable podcast. So the first thing I want you to do when it comes to igniting your fire inside is I want you to get to know yourself. This sounds self-explanatory, right? It sounds like, duh, I need to know myself. But at the end of the day, like many of us don't know ourselves. We don't know what we like to do. We don't know what we actually enjoy. We don't even have hobbies anymore. We're just so like career, family, and we do so much for so many others, especially women. I want you to really start understanding yourself, like knowing your habits, knowing your patterns, right? Knowing how you interact with others, knowing the time of day that lights you up, the time of day that doesn't, right? Really start to understand that the longest relationship you will ever have is with yourself. So if you're not taking care of you, if you're not investing in yourself, you're not, not just investing in your mind and your intelligence, but also your outer appearance, like all parts of yourself. If you're not seeking mentors, and mentors meaning people who are exactly what you want, not taking advice from people who believe they know what to tell you to get to where you want to be. I'm talking about having mentors and having people that you can look to who have exactly what you want, and they can show you how to do it, right? Because if we keep taking advice from people who don't have what we want, there's something to learn there, but it's never exactly what's going to get us to where we want to be. And I know that's a hard truth because there's a lot of probably people in your environment who tell you things and give you advice, but that is just the truth, right? We have to be investing in books and different resources to help us learn more about us. My therapist says it, if you can get a PhD in you, you can genuinely do any and everything. You cannot ignite a fire inside yourself. You cannot empower yourself if you don't know yourself. Like, you genuinely need to know yourself in and out. You need to accept all parts of you. You need to learn about self-love, which I have so many resources on self-love. Like for me, I did journal prompts on self-love. I journal every single day. I literally write down 3 things I love about myself every single day because I want to continuously be getting to know myself, especially as I evolve, right? I've gone through so many transitions. I went from a single girl. I went from that to being in a relationship. I went from that to being in a serious long-term relationship. I went from that to being engaged. I went from that to being married and having a kid, like having I went from being in a career to being a manager to now starting a business, like, and having other people that I manage. Like, there's just so many different levels that you're going to go through. So you have to continuously be getting to know yourself. Now, number 2 is you have to discover your why. And this has to be really, really connected to whatever it is that you want to get done. So when I say discover your why, I want you to know what you ultimately want to achieve in life. I want you to think about, how do I want to impact others and why? What would I do for free every day? Like, no matter what, because it's just like something I love to do. What would a perfect day look like for me? What do I value? What are my top things in life that make me feel happy, excited, fulfilled, right? Start thinking about the qualities you love most about yourself, what you're good at. And if you're not sure of it, like for me, one thing when I was exploring this activity, trying to figure out my why, is I actually asked the people closest to me. I asked a couple coworkers, I asked a couple friends and family, what are some strengths of mine that you believe I have, and what are some weaknesses? Now, you probably don't want to hear the weaknesses. I did not either, because I'm a recovering perfectionist, and I don't want to think that things are wrong with me. Like, I don't think there are. No, I'm playing. But no, it was good to hear the weaknesses because it helped me realize, okay, maybe I'm not so strong in these aspects, but let me focus on where I am strong down. And that's where I started to see themes. And when you start writing these things down, you start to see, oh, and this also helps you to get to know yourself. So kind of piggybacks off the first tip. But as you are starting to just like figure out your why, I want you to look at, okay, these are all my strengths. Like, so for me, it was like people love getting advice from me. They love talking about their issues with me. They knew I was a big problem solver, that I try to solve any and every problem. It's like a problem. It's because I get obsessed. But it's also like a really big strength of mine. I'm super ambitious. I like to lead. I knew that I wanted to do something that inspired others. Like I knew I was going to do something in empowerment. And at first I thought I'd be like a motivational speaker, like Les Brown or something, or Oprah. Then I realized there was this whole avenue of managing your time that people weren't really talking about. And it was a thing that really impacted me. Because when I started to manage my time, I no longer was burnt out because I started aligning my tasks and the things I wanted into my life and making time for it. And that's when I realized, oh, when I learned to manage my time and I utilize my 24 hours very, very well to my benefit in terms of my wellness, my relationships, my career, my personal development, I feel whole and I feel good. So I can only imagine how many other women are out there trying to manage their time and they don't know how to do it. And I want them to change their lives as well. So that's when I realized, oh, you have a purpose here. You know that you want to empower women, that you want to help them to manage their time so they can live a life that they love. Okay, bet. That's your why. Every day, that's what you're striving to do. And then you kind of wake up with a purpose. It's like you go to sleep with your plan and you wake up like, girl, yes, I'm ready with this purpose. I know what I'm about to go do. So discovering your why is a big part. If you don't know your why, you're not getting to know yourself, that is why there's no fire igniting. That's why inside is a little still, right? So I want you to start doing those things. And then lastly is a little bit more of a tangible one. I want you to learn how to build better habits. Now, the reason I'm talking about habits is because a lot of people set goals, right? They're so focused on the results. They're so focused on the outcome. They're not focused on the process. And that is where manifestation goes wrong. And that is where faith without work is dead, right? You have to do the work and you have to visualize yourself going through the trenches, right? It's like I heard Mel Robbins talk about this. It's like you can't just visualize yourself winning the race. You need to visualize yourself practicing for that race. You're on like your 97th mile. I might be exaggerating. Your shoelace is falling off. You got a hole in your shoe. It's raining. Your AirPods just died. Like it's a lot going on. And it's hard, but you're pushing through because that is going to build that mental strength and that mental toughness to get you exactly where you need to go. So when it comes to habits, you need to be thinking about how you can improve your habits in order to align with achieving your goals. So once you're starting to get to know yourself, you know your patterns, you're starting to understand like yourself and what you're already doing, then you know your why, you're ready to impact, you know exactly what you're going after. Now it's going to come down to the tangible works. What are you doing every single day, right? Because our habits are the things that we repeat again and again and again. It's like about 40% of our habits are unconscious, but we just do the same things again and again and again. And 91% of our thoughts are the same again and again and again. So if we can even change our thoughts and start to change our behaviors, even by 10%, it can lead to life transformation, right? So when it comes to changing your habits, I want you to first start off with determining what habits you want to achieve, right? Because in order to build great habits, you got to understand how to break the bad ones. So start thinking about like, okay, what are the habits that I want to start building? Do I want to work out more? Do I want to eat better? Do I want to have more friends? Do I want to have better connections with others? Do I want to start a business? Do I want to grow my business? Like, what are the habits that I need to pick up in order for me to do those things? And when it comes to habits, one of the biggest impactful things we have to do, and I love this comes from Atomic Habits, which is James Clear's book, which is so amazing, but it's the concept of you have to change your identity, right? You have to start identifying as someone who has the habit that you already want. So let's say you want to become more fit. You need to start identifying as a fit person. Like you need to completely let go of the old identity you had that you weren't fit. You need to just start identifying as a fit person. Now I know that sounds a little bit delusional, and maybe you need to be a little bit delusional, but you have to start identifying as that fit person. You need to start waking up every day like, what would that fit person do today? Like, what would she say yes to? What would she say no to? Because if you can start to become that person, then you will start to do the things that that person does, right? So it goes back to like the be, do, have principle, which I love to teach. And once you become that person, now you'll start to take actions of that fit person. So as you're building that habit, you know exactly why you're doing it. You're starting to visualize and become that person. Now you're doing the actions of that person. So maybe you're tracking your meals in MyFitnessPal, and you're going to the gym 3 days a week, and you're following a plan by Sculpt You or whatever. I'm saying this is very specific because exactly what I'm doing. But maybe you're doing all those things. You're getting, good sleep, and you're making sure you're stretching. Like, you're starting to do the things that the fit version of you would do, so that you can ultimately have what? The goal. You could ultimately have the fit body, the energy. You can feel good in your skin, fit into that dress you haven't fit into in years. Girl, I know there's a dress that's in your closet that you're trying to fit into, or a pair of jeans, right? Especially for my moms, okay? Because I'm there with you. So once you start to do all of those things, then you will start to see that all of your habits start to change, right? And this is a gradual process. It's not always in 21 days that your habits will change. It can actually take 66, 90 days, even up to 254 days to see big habit changes. But you can build up your habits, right? You can make them super easy eventually over time by just setting yourself up for success in different manners. And that's going to come down to you figuring out like what's going to make me building this habit easy, and what's going to make me going back to my old habits really hard. Set up consequences for yourself, set up rewards to wire your brain to do that thing again and again. And in due time, you will see that you start to follow through way more. So I hope that this was helpful for you, that you can take these 3 tips and really start igniting that fire inside of you. Let me know if you have any questions, or if there are any topics you want me to cover on this podcast. Just drop it in the comments or shoot me a DM on Instagram. I'm at Sade Kelly _ and everything will be in the description box. And like I said, I wanted to leave you with an action item. So your action item after this episode is to work on discovering your why. So I want you to schedule in time to answer the following questions. What would I do every day for free? Like, what would I wake up and do every day for free? What would my perfect day look like for me? And feel free to use ChatGPT for that, because I do that and it's really helpful. Also answer, what are your core values? Because that's going to help you really figure out how to align things in your life. And then lastly, I want you to ask yourself, like, what qualities do I love most about myself? And then from there, I want you to also reach out, ask people about your strengths and your weaknesses, so you can start to identify those themes. So I hope those questions help you discover your why, so you can start igniting that fire inside yourself. I really enjoyed making this episode. I cannot wait to see you in the next one. Please make sure to subscribe, leave a review. And if you're ready to take your time and your goals to the next level, make sure to click on my website link in the description box so you learn more about how I can potentially work with you at the Fire Inside. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.